Welcome back, everybody, to the Miami Marlins franchise here on MLB The Show 23. We have made it through the trade deadline. We're going to get through a large portion of August today as the chase for a playoff spot is truly on for our Miami Marlins. Obviously, the month of July did not go as expected, and we're hoping that we can win a lot more games here in the month of August. Last episode, we had to make a really tough decision here at the trade deadline on what our direction was going to be. I really feel like for where we are in the rebuild, we can't be playing both sides of buying and selling, and we have to pick a direction for what we want to do. And I ultimately made the decision to go out and buy in order to try to get a playoff spot. We're 56 and 54, a little bit out of the wild card in the National League, but we are certainly still in the race, and we made some huge moves at the deadline to improve this roster. We have finished towards the middle 2 years in a row, and I feel like we've done a good job of organically rebuilding the team, but I also feel like we need to show something for it, and I think by getting a playoff spot, we would be doing exactly that. So we ended up making 3 trades, and we added some big-time contributors to the roster, the biggest name, of course, being White Sox center fielder Luis Robert, who we got in exchange for Trevor Rogers and others. Luis Robert is a very interesting player because you know the talent with him is there, but he hasn't really been able to put it together with the White Sox. In his 6-year career, he's never played over 100 games. He's never hit more than 20 homers, but he hits for good contact, solid power, good defense, all around. I think he's a super talented player, and I think we will really be able to give him a fresh start to where he can finally blossom into a superstar. I knew we needed to add to the rotation, whether or not we moved Trevor Rogers, so we went out and got Tyler Mahle from the Twins. He is a rental, being that he is a free agent at the end of the year, but he's super reliable. He's had a career year this season, and I think he could be a long-term piece to the rotation rather than just a guy who we keep around for this season. But obviously that depends on how he plays here over these final 2 months, along with his contract demands. And then we also got Yusei Kikuchi and Aurelvis Martinez from the Toronto Blue Jays. So I like where the team is at here going into the month of August, with Luis Robert, of course, added into the lineup. Gavin Lux is still going to be hurt for a few weeks, but other than that, the team is pretty much at full strength at the moment, which is very nice. As for the pitching, Jesus Luzardo is back healthy. We optioned the struggling Yuri Perez down to AAA, and we're going to have an open competition for those final 2 spots in the rotation if we were to make the playoffs, who those guys are going to be. So before we get to any games today, we will be revealing the overall ratings and development trades for our draft picks. Right beforehand, we will get a last-second trade offer from the Twins. They want Brian De La Cruz for Royce Lewis. I am going to decline. So this is our final opportunity to sign our draft picks, and we still have a few players who are left unsigned, including first-rounder Isaac Stu. As I mentioned a couple episodes ago, the game was being weird with the players' interest. I wasn't really able to get the interests up. We would sign Isaac Stu, though, thankfully. Steven Fisher, who we drafted in the 4th round, also accepted. But Adolfo Jimenez, our 2nd-round draft pick, the closer, would ultimately not agree to a contract extension. Now, normally, I would let him go. I would recognize that we were unable to sign him. Oh, well, that's the end of that. But since I feel like the game kind of screwed us out of getting him, we will be signing him in free agency because he will be available for us to sign in the offseason. So now for the moment of truth. Here's a look at the ratings and potentials of all of our draft picks with the exception of Adolfo Jimenez. And I've got to say, this looks pretty good. I think we ended up having a phenomenal draft despite missing out on a lot of our targets down the board. Isaac Stu is a 70 overall with 87 potential. I can't get upset with that. I think this is somebody who's going to be able to contribute at the big league level within the next 2 years or so, with his offense being already so advanced. Tyrell Berry, the starting pitcher, is a 68 overall with 87 potential. He's a lot more big league ready than guys like Robbie Jones and Hitoki Nomo, who were drafted within the past couple of years. Now, Jones has developed unbelievably well so far in the minors, but I think Tyrell Berry is a guy who will be able to contribute in the big leagues again fairly soon. Yoenis Jimenez, we drafted in the 3rd round. He's raw, but he has 85 potential. He's got blazing speed, if nothing else, and I think there is some nice long-term upside with him. He is already 22 years old, but I am very intrigued by him. Steven Fisher has 87 potential. Now, he is also raw, a 43 overall. Obviously, as a first baseman, you're hoping the offensive numbers can go up. But at 19 years old, I think they can get there. Look at Johnny Henderson in the 5th round. 93 potential. We took a completely blank shot in the dark on upside with Johnny Henderson, and it paid off. Now, he's got a long ways to go, but steal for the 5th round. And then Ian Rigdon in the 6th round. Only a 71 potential, but a 63 overall. So let's take a look at some of the other draft classes around the rest of the league. Here's Ryan Stevenson, the number 1 overall pick with the Reds. He looks quite good. Ryan King's a player we had our eye on. He does not look all that good, but Geraldo Estrada does look really good with the Nationals. He was one of our late-round targets. Kurt Kellenberger with the Reds is, in fact, a generational talent. He is an 81 overall with 99 potential. How he fell to the 9th pick, I have no clue. And then Jose Benitez, a guy who we really liked, has 93 potential. So hats off to the Reds. They had a great draft, as did the Milwaukee Brewers. Gilberto Tovar, the 3rd overall pick with 90 potential. He was another guy we liked quite a bit down the board. The Diamondbacks with a 96 potential in the final round. Look at that. The Rockies with some good depth picks, although Bobby Lopez looks like kind of a bust, which our scouting department got completely right. Cristobal Estrella is a 64 with 83. He was the guy we targeted. I think we got it right by picking Isaac Stu over him. Roberto Nunez is an 85. Carlton Hahn is a 90. Good draft for the Rays, per usual, just doing Rays-esque things. The White Sox with a good draft. We liked Fernando Cabrera quite a bit. Edgar Silva was kind of on our radar. He only has C potential, but he does look pretty good. Peter Gillis was a guy we really liked. I thought he would be a little bit better. He was the Tigers pick in the 2nd round. Here are some of the pitchers we liked. Floyd and Franco, they both look quite solid. George Watkins, another guy we liked. He looks pretty good as well. Lamont McGill, we didn't even really scout him, but he looks very good. Mark Clark was another guy we liked. Kyle Stahl with the A's is going to be one of their best hitters right off the bat, which speaks to where the A's are. Geronimo Freitas was a guy we really wanted late, as was Alfonso Bravo. There's Richie Vasquez, another guy we looked at in the 1st round with the Atlanta Braves. He looks pretty solid. And then back to us. We ended up with 4 B potentials, 5 assuming Adolfo Jimenez has B potential, and then 1 A potential with Johnny Henderson. So we really ended up killing it. I think we completely nailed our 1st round pick with Isaac Stu, and we got great depth down the board. I think this is definitely our best draft class up to this point within the series, although the Season 1 draft class was very good as well. So now we've got a series here against the Guardians. I really wanted to look at this matchup because the Guardians, of course, have made the World Series 2 years in a row. We already simulated the first game and won. I think we're going to play this last game, Tyler Mahle's Marlins debut. So we'll send this second one. We end up losing it 6-5. But Orelvis Martinez hit a dinger, so that's cool. Luis Robert did not play in this game. In the first game, he went 0-for. So in Robert's first 2 games with the Marlins, he is still hitless. Hopefully that'll change here in Game 3 of the series against the Cleveland Guardians, who, of course, have won the American League 2 years in a row. They won the World Series in Season 1, beating the Dodgers, but then the Dodgers got revenge on them in the Fall Classic last year. The Guardians, once again, are really good this year. They should be able to win the American League Central, but we'll see if the Marlins can get the better of them here in this series, as Miami will be rocking with the throwback jerseys tonight. Hopefully the jerseys give Miami some good luck. The Marlins won Game 1, Cleveland took Game 2, so we'll see what happens here in Game 3, of course, which will be the debut of new trade deadline acquisition, Tyler Mahle from the Twins. Here's a look at both lineups. Regular starters for the Marlins for the most part, as Mahle will make his first appearance with the Miami Marlins. He's played against Cleveland quite a bit, being in the American League Central, so he should already be pretty familiar with a lot of these batters. Miles Straw will lead things off here for the Guardians, and he will bloop this one into left field, and it'll drop for a hit. Straw does have some association with the Marlins on this channel. Last year in our Guardians franchise, we traded Straw away to the Marlins for Jesus Sanchez. Jose Ramirez grounds it to first. Woody Landry's going to try to turn 2. Instead, the Marlins turn 0. So a costly defensive play there by the rookie, and now there's 2 runners aboard. That'll bring up the shortstop, Willie Adames, who grounds it over to third. Diaz to Arise, over to Landry. 5-4-3, inning-ending double play, and Tyler Mahle will get out of an early jam. Daniel Espino will start for the Guardians, one of the better prospects within this organization. He hasn't gotten off to a great start here in his rookie year, 5.55 ERA, whip nearly at 1.7. He'll face off against Nick Fortes, who leads all qualified hitters in batting average currently across all of baseball, but he goes down chasing on the slider. Luis Ariz not too far behind Fortes in terms of batting average, and he will draw a walk. So the Marlins get their first base runner of the game. That'll bring up Jazz Chisholm, one of the candidates for the National League MVP. He will also draw a walk. 2 on, 2 away. Big opportunity for the new kid on the block, Luis Robert, also coming from the AL Central, and he strikes out on the slider. So Espino gets out of the inning as he's able to strike out Luis Robert with a couple runners on base, and nobody scores in the first. Top 2, Josh Bell checks his swing. They'll call him out. Josh Bell's been in a number of different series here on this channel. We know him very well around here. Gio Urshela strikes out on the fastball. Good pitch by Maile. Good second inning for him as we go bottom 2. Anthony Santander is up for the Marlins, and he swings and misses on the fastball. Good pitch by Espino. Seems like both pitchers are really finding a groove here. Top of the 3rd, Kevin Parada, the catcher, will single into center. Parada was part of a big trade in Season 1 that sent him and Kodai Senga to the Guardians in exchange for outfielder Stephen Kwan. Brian Rocchio grounds it over to first. Landry deflects it, and he will eventually tag the base. I don't know what he was waiting for, but hey, an out is an out. Miles Straw is up next, and he crushes this one into left center field, and that one is gone. A rare Miles Straw homer. You don't see that every day. His 7th of the year, and the Cleveland Guardians will take a 2-0 lead. Good swing by Straw to put the Guardians on the board. That'll bring up Oscar Gonzalez, SpongeBob man, and he strikes out on the splitter. Good pitch by Maile, looking to rebound after allowing the homer during the previous at-bat. That'll bring up Jose Ramirez, arguably the best third baseman in the game, and he will draw a walk. So that's a base runner here for the cleanup hitter, Willy Adames, and he strikes out on the slider. Still a good inning for the Guardians as they do score 2 off of the homer by Miles Straw. Let's go bottom 3. See if the Marlins can answer back. Nick Fortes is up with a 2-2 count. He will weakly pop this one up. Should be caught, and it will be caught by Josh Bell. 3 scoreless for Daniel Espino. He's looked very good so far here against our Marlins as we move into the 4th. Josh Bell leads things off, and he launches this one into straightaway center. Luis Robert can only watch as that one is gone. A solo homer for Josh Bell. His 16th of the year, and it's now 3-0. We've seen a lot of Josh Bell homers on this channel, whether it's with the Pirates series in MLB The Show 20 or with the Guardians last year. Kevin Parada goes down looking on the splitter. Maile gets out of the inning, but not before allowing another homer. So the Guardians are looking good. They lead 3-0. The Marlins are looking to finally score here, but Luis Ariz strikes out on the changeup. Good pitch by Espino. Jazz Chisholm up now. Grounds this one up the middle. Adames will make the play, and the throw is in time. They got him. But the Marlins will look to potentially challenge this. The Marlins do not have a hit yet today. This would be their first one if it is ultimately reversed. But we'll have to look at the replay. Did Jazz Chisholm get to the base in time? We know he's really fast. And right there, the left foot is down before the ball is in Josh Bell's glove. So this play will be reversed. It is an infield single. And the no-hitter for Daniel Espino is dead. So the Marlins have a base runner now. That'll bring up the rookie, Woody Landry, and he strikes out on the fastball, frustrated with himself. As we move on into the 5th, Miles Straw hits it into center. Robert will not go for the diving play. If that ball gets by him, Miles Straw might take that the entire way for an inside the Parker. So he's just going to let it drop for a hit. And from there, Tyler Mahle will be taken out of the game. A pretty bad Marlins debut. Let's not sugarcoat it. Jordan Hicks is into the game, and he will get out of the jam, striking out Willy Adames to finish things off. So Mahle allows 2 runners to start the inning, but Jordan Hicks is able to wipe the slate. Bottom 5, Anthony Santander leads things off, and he will draw a walk. The Marlins got a base runner for Jesus Sanchez. He will also draw a walk. A couple of early base runners in the 5th, and a great opportunity to drive these guys in. That'll bring up Gennaro Miller. Big swing and a miss on the low changeup. He should not have swung at that. That'll bring up Yandy Diaz now, the third baseman, top of the order. He strikes out as well, going down on the slider. Espino looks to be making it out of the inning as he now faces off against Nick Fortes. 1-2 count. Fortes lines this one high and pretty deep in right field. And that's actually not deep at all. It is caught to end the inning by Oscar Gonzalez, and the score remains 3-0. Jordan Hicks remains in the game. He will wipe through the 6th inning pretty easily, finished off by a strikeout of George Valera. Jazz Chisholm draws a walk here in the bottom of the 6th. Jazz has reached base in every plate appearance today with 2 walks and a hit. Problem is the rest of the offense has not shown up. Woody Landry pops it into left. It is caught, and that'll end the inning. Still only 1 hit today for the Miami Marlins. Their offense has been completely blanked by Cleveland's pitching. Reynaldo Lopez will come into the game for the Marlins, another guy who comes from the AL Central, albeit it's been 2 years since he was with the White Sox. He will walk Kevin Parada to start the 7th. That'll bring up Miles Straw, who has 3 hits today. Can he get a 4th? Yes, he is safe at first. What a game from Miles Straw, of all people. He has been phenomenal at the plate. Lopez looks to get out of the jam as he strikes out Oscar Gonzalez, but now he's going to have to face off against J-Ram, Jose Ramirez, and he will draw a walk. So with that, the bases are loaded for the shortstop, Willy Adames. He will face off against Camilo Duvall, who looks to get the Marlins out of the inning. Obviously, we know Duvall from the Guardian Series last year as he strikes out Adames. Cleveland will leave the bases loaded as they hold on to their 3-0 lead, and we go to the bottom of the 7th. Anthony Santander crushes this one into right field, no doubt about it, into the second deck. An absolute piss missile off the bat of Anthony Santander, and it is now a 3-1 ball game. His 27th home run of the year with Espino over 120 pitches. Cleveland will look to take him out of the game. He'll be replaced by Sam Henches, 2.58 ERA on the season for him. Cleveland's got definitely one of the better bullpens in baseball, and it puts a lefty-on-lefty matchup here for Jesus Sanchez, who strikes out on the fastball. Good pitch. Aaron Sabato will come in off the bench as a pinch hitter for Gennaro Miller. He will draw a walk. So Sabato is aboard, and the tying run is now at the plate. That'll bring up Yandy Diaz, who hits this one up the middle. That'll get past the glove of Adames for a base hit. 2 runs aboard now. Bad throw in center from George Valera. And now the potential winning run, or at least the go-ahead run, is at the plate. It's Fortes, who pops this one up into center, high and pretty deep. Valera will make the play. Sabato will look to tag up. It's going to be close, and he is just barely safe. That was close. So now there's runners on the corners here. Big opportunity for Luis Arraez, and he'll face off against Eli Morgan. Cleveland with their 3rd pitcher of the inning. 3-1 count. Arraez hits it up the middle. Adames deflects it. Picked up by the second baseman, who flips it over to short. Everybody is safe, and it's now 3-2 as Sabato ends up scoring. Big opportunity now for Jazz Chisholm, who's reached base in every plate appearance today. The 2-2, swinging a miss on the circle change. Great pitch by Morgan. The Guardians will hold on to their lead, but the Marlins are going to make it interesting. It's 3-2. To lead off the 8th, Josh Bell singles in to left, and Cleveland will get an early base runner to start the inning. That'll bring up Gio Urshela, grounds it to third. Diaz deflects it, and he will not be able to make the throw in time. The Guardians start the inning with 2 early base runners as they look to get those runs back. Kevin Parada splits it between Duvall's legs for a hit, and it's now 4-2 as the runner will score. Big single for Parada, and from there the Marlins will go back to the bullpen. Camilo Duvall's day is done, and he'll be replaced by A.J. Puck, 3.07 ERA, facing off against Rocchio. He rips it down the right field line and fair. 1 run will score. The second one will hold up at third, so it's now 5-2 off of the RBI double by Brian Rocchio. That'll bring up Miles Straw, who's 4 for 4 today. Let's not even pitch to him. Going to draw the intentional walk, load the bases, set a force out at every bag, but Gonzalez is going to single into right. Run scores at 6-2. Bases are still loaded as well. That'll bring up Jose Ramirez, who gets plunked. Another run scores, and it's now 7-2. The bullpen is quite literally imploding. Willy Adames strikes out. So now that'll bring up Josh Bell, who started the inning. Hits this one well into left center field. Santander at the track, at the wall. It is caught! What a catch by Anthony Santander to save probably 3 runs from being scored. Now, Cleveland still scored 4 in that inning. They'll take a 7-2 lead. Lucas Sims will come into the game. The Marlins tried to sign Sims in the offseason. He ended up choosing Cleveland. Woody Landry is up here with 1 away. Quiet so far today, 0 for 3. But he will draw a walk. So Woody Landry is now aboard. And we'll see if the Marlins can start an 8th inning rally. Anthony Santander homered in his last at-bat. Another homer would be pretty nice right here. Instead, he will head home to the dugout as he swings and misses. That'll bring up Jesus Sanchez now. 2-2. Runner aboard and 2 away for Sanchez. Woody's going to look to steal second, and he is safe. Woody's got some wheels. He can run. Not your ordinary first baseman. So now Woody is in scoring position here for Jesus Sanchez. A base hit should be able to score him. And that's definitely a base hit, all right. Sanchez hits it into the left field corner. Woody Landry will score. Jesus Sanchez is safe at second. No throw. And so it is now a 7-3 ball game. Is it time to put your rally caps on? Aurelvis Martinez comes into the game off the bench, gets a beautiful hanging pitch up in the zone. He liked that one too, but instead he just grounds it over to short, and Adames will make the play. So the Marlins do get 1 back, but they're still trailing by 4 going into the 9th. Adonis Takadopoulos will enter the game here for Miami, 3.1 ERA. He has really gotten better as the season has gone along. But his day will not start off great as George Valera hits this one into the gap for extra bases, just like he would do in the Guardian series. Valera, of course, developed into a Hall of Fame outfielder for us within the Guardians franchise last year, as Kevin Parada will single it into left. Valera will hold up at third, so now there's runners on the corners. These Guardians have done great against Miami's bullpen today. Rocchio with another hit. That'll drive in a run, and it is now 8-3. Brian Rocchio's done really well as the 9-hitter for Cleveland. Oscar Gonzalez grounds it to short. Chisholm flips it over to a rise, but the Guardians do add 1. They'll take an 8-3 lead into the bottom of the 9th. They won't even need their closer, Emmanuel Clase. They'll just hand it over to Nick Sandelin, who will look to finish it off. 2.87 ERA on the year, and he will face off against Nick Fortes with 1 away. Fortes 0 for 4 today. Finally going to get that base hit. This one will go into the gap, likely for a double. So Fortes is aboard at second, and now the Marlins have a runner in scoring position. Will they finally get the rally going? The offense has been pretty quiet today, but they have done better down the stretch. Arise swings and misses. Fortes is caught up in a pickle, and he is out at second. So the wild pitch kind of throws him off, and now the Guardians need 1 more out. Following pitch for Arise. Grounds it to third. Jose Ramirez will make the play, and that'll end this game. The Guardians win convincingly 8-3. They will end up winning the series. A tough one here for Miami. The offense never really clicked. They did get some runs down the stretch, but, I mean, it really didn't matter. The Guardians did really well with guys on base. Miles Straw, 4 for 5. Homer drove in 2 runs. Brian Rocchio, 3 for 5. Kevin Parada, 3 for 5. Daniel Espino was phenomenal. Their bullpen was not phenomenal, but it didn't really matter. Our offense did literally nothing for 6 innings. Our only hit was an infield single that got reversed. It was originally an out. Tyler Mahle was not great in his first Marlins appearance, but bullpen other than Jordan Hicks was also not great. So we're going to do some simming now. We're going to make it through 4 games against the Mets, 3 against Detroit, and then 2 at Yankee Stadium. The Yankees and Mets should give us some trouble. The Tigers, meanwhile, are the worst team in baseball, so hopefully we can make quick work of them. We would end up splitting with the Yankees and the Mets, and we would end up sweeping the Tigers. So about as expected, as we end up going 6-3. Overall, I would consider that a success. Luis Robert's gotten off to an up-and-down start within his first couple of weeks with the Marlins. He hit 4 homers in the games that we just simmed, but he has not consistently hit for good average. I also want to shout out Jesus Sanchez. He's been playing very well recently. Just had 2 homers against the Yankees. And something else worth noting is now that Gennaro Miller has played 20 games as a position player, he's now officially a 2-way player, which means we can set his secondary position to the outfield. So this means he no longer has to just DH. We can play him in the outfield as well. So that'll bring us to a pivotal 3-game set against the Mets. They're half a game ahead of us, and they're currently the 3rd wild card. Keep in mind the Padres and Dodgers are tied for the division lead. So basically, we are half a game behind the third wild card. So if we end up winning 2 of these games, we will be the number 3 wild card in the National League. We would end up winning the first one, so now we are tied at 64 and 59. So we are tied for the third wild card in the National League. So if we win this game right here, we will have the third wild card spot within the NL, which is really exciting. Obviously, our goal right now is to make the playoffs. And if we can get that third wild card spot now and try to be in the driver's seat of that playoff spot going into the month of September, that could be a really big deal. So this might be the biggest regular season game of the entire season and one of the biggest of the entire series up to this point. So we certainly have to win this one. Here's a look at your lineups. No Anthony Santander getting the day off. Everybody else as usual. Max Butterbaugh will be starting for the Mets, 2.42 ERA. He is going to be a big piece of this rotation along with number 1 overall draft pick Ryan Stevenson for years to come. But his day will not start off great. Yandy Diaz opens things up with a double, and the Marlins have an early runner in scoring position. If Miami can set the tone on offense, get some early runs, that would be a very big deal. That'll bring up Nick Fortes, full count. He will ground this one over to second. Nice play by Jeff McNeil to get the out. Runner will advance to third. So if this ball is put decently into play, he should be able to score. It's Luis Ariz who pops this one into left, and it is caught. The runner will look to head home. The throw is going to be close, and Francisco Alvarez tags him as he slides to the plate. Pretty good throw out and left by Stephen Kwan, but an unbelievable play by the catcher, Francisco Alvarez, to quickly turn his body and tag Yandy Diaz right before he touches home plate. A photo finish. I feel like if Diaz had gotten his foot to touch home plate as he was sliding, we could have gotten the run. Jesus Luzardo will be starting for the Marlins. He's obviously missed some time with injury. When he has pitched, he hasn't been all that good. But he needs a big game today, and he will not start off all too well as Jeff McNeil hits it into the right field corner. That'll go for a double. Good throw by Sanchez. If McNeil was a little bit slower, they could have maybe got him. Brett Beatty will strike out on the circle change. Great pitch by Luzardo. Stephen Kwan, check swing. Umpire says he went around on the sinker for the second out. That'll bring up Brandon Drury, who draws a walk. So with that, there's 2 on and 2 away. Big at bat for Lindor. He will draw a walk. And now the bases are loaded for Francisco Alvarez, who hits it to the pitcher. Luzardo will get the out at first. And the New York Mets leave the bases loaded. Good job by Luzardo to get out of the jam as we have no score going into the second. Jazz Chisholm will lead things off for the Marlins. He will draw a walk. That's a tough pitch to lay off, but he will, and he is now aboard. That'll bring up Luis Robert. He will ground this one right over to short. Lindor over to McNeil, who gets trampled by Jazz Chisholm. And the Mets will turn 2. It's a 6-4-3 double play. Bottom 2, Omar Cinco goes down chasing on the 12-6 curve. Great pitch by Luzardo. Mitch Garver now singles into right, but it's not a single. What in the hell is Jesus Sanchez doing? That should have been a single. Instead, it's a double. So that changes things now. The Mets have the runner in scoring position, and thankfully they won't drive him in as Jeff McNeil strikes out on the curve. Great pitch by Luzardo. Still scoreless going into the third. Gennaro Miller is up. This is his first game in the big leagues playing an actual position. He's playing left field today as he strikes out. That'll bring up Brian De La Cruz, full count, and he will ground this one to third. Going to be a tough play. Beatty, backhanded throw. Got him! What a play at the hot corner by Brett Beatty to get the out. Bottom of the third, Drury flies it into center with 2 away. Luis Robert is under it. He'll make the play. We've got ourselves a pitcher's duel through 3. Max Butterbaugh and Jesus Luzardo both look very good so far. Yandy Diaz bloops this one into right, and it will drop for a hit. That's just the second base knock of the game for the Marlins. The first one was also by Yandy Diaz back in the first inning. With nobody out, this is a great opportunity for the offense to do some damage or ground into a double play. Not ideal. So the Mets will turn 2, and we go to the bottom of the fourth. Francisco Lindor hits this one up the middle. That'll go for a hit, and the Mets will start the inning with a base runner. We'll see if New York can do any damage, as that'll bring up Francisco Alvarez. He swings at a pitch he should not have, a 12-6 curve well in the dirt. Omarsenko also gets fooled by the low off-speed pitch. Garver now up, checks his swing. Lindor will steal second, and so now there's a runner in scoring position here, and the Mets feasibly can get on the board. Garver will draw a walk, so I guess the stolen base doesn't really matter anymore. That'll bring up Jorge Soler, the former Marlin, who strikes out. Good job by Luzardo to make it through the fourth, getting out of another jam as we move into the fifth. Jazz Chisholm draws his second walk of the game, and the Marlins start the inning with a speedster aboard. That'll bring up Luis Robert. Grounded into a double play last time. I guess that's better than a double play. He ends up striking out. Gennaro Miller now with two away, pops it up over to third. Beatty is under it. He will make the grab. That's 5 scoreless innings for Max Butterball. This game remains tied at 0. When are we going to have runs on the board? Could it be in the bottom of the fifth? It won't be Jeff McNeil. He strikes out on the sinker. Great pitch by Luzardo, now against Stephen Kwan. Grounds it up the middle. Going to be a tough play for Jazz Chisholm. And the throw is not in time. Good effort by Jazz. But Stephen Kwan is aboard for an infield single. Drury grounds it to first. Landry will tag the bag with 2 outs. He didn't need to go to second that time. That's 5 scoreless now for Jesus Luzardo, and we move into the sixth. Full count for Sanchez. He will take his base. Tough pitch to lay off. The Marlins have gotten quite a few guys aboard with walks, but they still only have 2 base hits today. Wild pitch. Sanchez will look to make it over to second. He is safe. And so the Marlins have the runner in scoring position with a runner out. That'll bring up Yandy Diaz. He is the only hits today for the Marlins, and he strikes out. That would have been the perfect time to get another hit because he would have scored the run. Fortes hits this one high and deep into center field. Soler chases after it. He will make the play. 6 scoreless innings for Max Butterball, and we move to the bottom of the sixth. Francisco Lindor is not had a good season, but he's been productive today. He's now 2 for 2 with a walk as he's aboard with another single. That'll bring up Omarsenko. Strikes out on the 12-6 curve. Luzardo's pitching count is getting really high, but the Marlins want to keep him in the game as Lindor steals his second base of the game. Garver grounds it to Luis Ariz. He will make the play, but the throw is offline. A throwing error from Luis Ariz, and the inning will stay alive. Will this be how the Mets score? The Marlins will elect to take Luzardo out of the game. Interesting strategy. Luzardo's been so good today, but his pitch count is high. And the next batter is Jorge Soler, who has great power against lefties. So Miami's going to pay attention to the matchup and bring in the righty, Jorge Alcala. The 2-2 for Soler. Swinging a miss on the circle change. And the error by Ariz will not prove to lead to any runs. Anthony DeSclafani will check into the game here in the seventh for the Mets. 5.25 ERA has not been all that good this year. Luis Ariz looking to make up for the error back in the previous inning, and he will hit this one into left, and that'll go for a hit. The first base hit for somebody not named Yandy Diaz. So the Marlins have the runner aboard, and that'll bring up Jazz Chisholm. He's got a couple walks today. This time he's going to swing the bat. Rips it into right center. That one's going to drop as it one-hops off the wall. Ariz will hold up at third. I think he would have been out. If there were 2 gone, we probably would have sent him, but since there's nobody out, why risk it? 2 runners in scoring position now. Huge opportunity for Luis Robert. He's got a 3-1 count, and that's going to not be a walk. Robert thought it was, but it'll be called strike 2. So now the count is full for Robert. That pitch was not on the zone. I don't think it hit the edge. It won't matter, though. He'll draw a walk on the very next pitch. And so the bases are loaded with nobody out. This is the opportunity to strike, and that'll bring up Woody Landry, who has struggled over the last month and a half. He's really hit the rookie wall, but he will look to get out of that here with the bases loaded. Full count, nobody out. The 3-2 for the rookie, Woody Landry. That's low for a ball. So Woody Landry will walk in the first run of the game. Ariz will score, and it's 1-0, and the bases are still loaded with nobody out. That'll bring up Gennaro Miller. He's 0 for 2 today. He strikes out on the fastball. Great pitch by DeSclafani. That'll bring up Jesus Sanchez. He's got a hitter's-friendly 3-1 count. He will ground this one to third. Oh, no. This could end the inning. 5-4-3 double play. The Marlins had the bases loaded. At least they got one, but it felt like they could have done a whole lot more there. A.J. Puck will come in out of the bullpen. The next three batters for the Mets are all lefties. So again, paying attention to the matchups. McNeil walks, but he's thrown out. Going to second. Nick Fortes, part-time ball player, full-time sniper. Great throw behind the dish. Brett Beatty will then strike out looking. Stephen Kwan now hits this one in to right. That'll go for a hit. Sanchez over to it quickly. Kwan looks to head over to second. Going to be a close play, and he is safe. So the Mets have the runner in scoring position. Brandon Drury's up next. He hits lefties really well. So again, the Marlins paying attention to the matchups will bring Reynaldo Lopez into the game to look to finish off the inning here against Drury, who grounds it to second. Luis Ariz makes the play, and that'll wrap up the seventh. The Marlins lead it 1-0. We'll see if they can finish it off here over these final couple of innings. Brian De La Cruz leads off the eighth. He will single into right field. And so the Marlins have an early base runner. The offense has hit the ball a little bit better as this game has gone along. Yandy Diaz is up now. He's 2 for 3. Diaz pops this one up, and this one will drop for a hit. De La Cruz makes it over to second. Miami will start the inning with 2 runners aboard as they look to potentially add to their lead. Full count for Fortes. Grounds it up the middle. McNeil gets it. He flips it over to second. The Mets will get 1 out. Fortes safe at first, and now there are runners on the corners. Huge at bat here for Jazz Chisholm. He's reached base every plate appearance. Swings at a pitch he shouldn't have, and he will ground out to second. Miami leaves 2 runners aboard, and it'll remain 1-0. Lopez will stay in the game here in the bottom of the 8th as he strikes out Lindor. That'll bring up Francisco Alvarez. He strikes out as well. Go down looking on the curveball. Brandon Nimmo enters the game off the bench as a pinch hitter. Grounds out to Jazz Chisholm. Quick 1-2-3 inning for Reynaldo Lopez as it remains 1-0 going into the top of the 9th. The lefty Brooks Raley will check into the game for the Mets as he will face off against pinch hitter Anthony Santander, subbing in for Gennaro Miller. And Santander will strike out. The Marlins haven't exactly put up a lot of runs today, but as long as they get a scoreless inning here from the closer, Liam Hendricks, they'll be able to finish it off. Hendricks is 31-38 on save ops this season. The Marlins have not allowed a run yet today. Why change that now as Garver strikes out on the fastball? 1 away for Jorge Soler. He will reach his base, drawing the walk. And there you go. The Mets get their base runner. And that'll bring up Jeff McNeil. Hits this one into the gap. That could score Soler. Luis Robert gets to it quickly. Soler will look to score. And he is safe. An RBI double for Jeff McNeil. We are tied at 1. Hendricks blows the save. And he'll be taken out of the game for Camilo Duvall, who will look to get the Marlins out of the jam. A base hit likely ends the game in favor of the Mets. Big opportunity for Brett Beatty. He flies it shallowly into left, and Santander will come down with it as he makes the catch. Huge at bat here for Stephen Kwan. Not really the guy you want to face off against here if you're the Marlins. Kwan is very good with contact. He's a clutch hitter, so Duvall does not want to throw strikes. Count is 3-1. Hitter's friendly count for Kwan. Pitch on its way from Duvall. Fouled off, and now the count is full with 2 away and a runner on second. Possibly the biggest pitch of the season for the Marlins, the 3-2. Ball 4. So Kwan will walk. That doesn't really matter. The Mets only need 1 to score, and that'll bring up Brandon Drury. Looks at an inside cutter. Now we're looking at 2-2. Again, maybe the biggest pitch of the year. Duvall looking to get him on the outside slider, and he does! A big strikeout from Camilo Duvall. And this game is headed into extra innings as we are tied at 1. So as we move into the 10th, the Mets will bring Dominic Hamill into the game. He has been abysmal this year. 6.14 ERA. Santander was on second, but he'll be replaced by the pinch runner, Esteury Ruiz. First batter to lead things off is Jesus Sanchez. Pops it up. Lindor is under it, and he will make the grab for out number 1. All the Marlins got to do is get a base hit. Ruiz is more than fast enough to score with ease. So that'll bring up Brian De La Cruz. Got a base hit in his last at-bat. Grounds this one right over to Francisco Lindor. He'll make the throw. Ruiz does advance to third, but now the Marlins are going to need a base hit. And that'll bring up Yandy Diaz, who's got quite a few today. 3 for 4. Grounds this one to third. Beatty will look to make the play. And he will. So the Mets get through the 10th without allowing any runs. All they need is a base hit here in the bottom half of the inning to finish it off. Lindor starts the inning with a single. The run will look to score. Good throw from Robert, but it's a little bit offline, and the New York Mets walk it off. The Marlins will not be able to take that third wild card spot quite yet. A walk-off single from Francisco Lindor will win it for the Mets as they pose for the camera while Duvall walks back to the bench unapprovingly. The offense is the reason why we lost here. We did not hit the ball well at all. Yandy Diaz had 3 hits, but the 2 at-bats he did not get hits. They were big opportunities for him to strike, and then the rest of the offense was awful. Jesus Luzardo was great. The bullpen was pretty good, but it wasn't enough. Max Butterball was great. The Mets bullpen was even better, and so we unfortunately will take the L, and we will take the L on the third game of the series as well. So we're now 2 games behind the Mets for the final wild card spot in the National League. We're going to simulate the series now against the Dodgers at home before we wrap things up. We'd get some good news and some bad news on the injury front. Luis Robert is going to be out for a week or 2 with a minor knee injury. Jacob Berry will take his place on the big league roster. I sent Berry down over the last month to get his head straight in AAA, and now he's all good to go. Gavin Lux is also good to go. Jacob Berry, after 1 day in the big leagues, will go right back to AAA. Gavin Lux, meanwhile, will return to the lineup. Since Gavin Lux got injured, I've kind of realized how important he is to this team as we end up taking 2 of 3 against the Dodgers. Unfortunately, the Mets ended up sweeping their series, so we would actually lose a little ground on them. So that'll wrap up the episode. Next time around, we're going to get through a large chunk of September. I'm planning on having 2 more regular season episodes, I think, before we get into the playoffs. That is, if we make the playoffs. If not, then that would bring us, of course, into the offseason. That'll wrap up the episode. I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Peace out.